let's talk about something that you always like to talk about, and that's deism.
Oh, dear goodness.
Yeah.
You disgust me.
Now,
So the context
why don't you, for our fans, since they're paying for this, why don't you define deism for us? Okay.
So there's two different kinds of deism. I want to be very, very clear here. There's the deism of Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Locke, many other people, and then there's the deism of today.
Right.
The deism of today is God exists, he set the world in motion, and he put everything in place, and then he left it there. He started the Big Bang, and then...
Then he went to Acapulco for a vacation. No one has seen him since. No one has seen God since.
Yeah, he has nothing to do with it. And the idea is that solves the origin problem of where did the universe come from, right, without adding in the question of miracles and stuff like that. Right. Now,
well, the point is that the deist, you're right. The deist does use the creator narrative to solve the problem of why there's something rather than nothing. Okay, that's all they wanted to solve. Now, the nanny god, the god who's like, with a green eye shade and an Excel spreadsheet, no, you masturbated today. Oh, you're going to get punished for that. They had nothing. They didn't want that at all.
Now, this is very important to make a distinction here. You read people, self-described deists like Benjamin Franklin. You read his autobiography, you would think this guy's a Bible thumper.
Right.
And there's a key distinction here.
Right.
He was an empiricist, meaning that his approach to understanding politics, science, all that, he wanted to do it, but without using the Bible. And to a certain extent, it makes a lot of sense, because if you use a verse in isolation, you can prove almost anything. If you stretch the Bible, and you're not respecting the context, you just kind of use it to your own agenda. And many evil dictatorships have done that. So, and that's what Locke did. Many other people did. Now they all make, like, even Franklin says it specifically in his autobiography, the necessity and goodness of religion, which to modern deists would be horrifying. And he understood that there are certain morals and principles. It's not just God set everything in motion, but he also set a certain moral metaphysics in motion too, like the moral law. It's just
nature's God. It's in the Declaration of Independence. Nature's God. That's as far as they would go. He set out the rules of physics and the rules of morality, and then he left town, and no one's ever seen him again, and he's not watching you masturbate. Forget about that part.
So we've had a conversation very many times about whether or not John Locke was a deist, and I think there's great arguments for either side. Why do you believe he was a deist?
Well, okay, so if we rewind the tape in the 1770s, 1765s, you've got to remember that almost all of the Protestant ministers that were active in England and also in the United States, they were Bible thumpers. They were evangelical literalists, scripturalists.
Keep in mind, though, just less than 100 years, maybe 50 years ago, or 100 years ago, before the First Awakening, it was the exact opposite. They were I know.
Just for clarity. I got that. But we're talking about the mind of Locke and the mind of Hume and Hobbes and Benjamin Franklin. They lived there was a sociological reason why they were closet deists. Okay, I'll call them closet deists. Right. And the reason that they went to their church, they brought their Bible, they thumped their Bible, and the reason is because you could not become socially acceptable unless you were a evangelical Christian in England and an evangelical Christian here in the United States. So they were afraid of being ostracized. The churches still exerted great political power. Forget about the Catholics. We're talking now about the British and the American societies. You were ostracized if you were not a churchgoer, a righteous person, a person who was righteously living Christian lives. You see, you were ostracized. Now, what does that do to you when you're a free thinker like Benjamin Franklin, and you
implying that a fundamental Bible thumpers like me aren't free thinkers? Go on.
Yeah, but just to complete the loop there, John Locke, for instance, certainly took great pains to glorify God in the evangelical setting, as did even David Hume. Even when David Hume attacked causality, he still genuflected to the deity, to God, as having set up these rules, as you pointed out at the beginning of this podcast. So I think that the key to understanding this question about why deism rather than evangelical founders and writers is because of social acceptability. It was a sociological reason.
See, I don't think you can formulate your proof along the via negativa, because it's sort of like just making a theory, but but the way you've structured the theory is that it's impossible to confirm or deny it, because neither of us have had a private conversation with Locke with no repercussions of it. I would say that Locke was not so much a deist, and I lean. Keep in mind, I lean this way. It's not so much I believe with all my heart and soul, blah blah blah.
I got it. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of weird that the guy who wrote on the reasonableness of Christianity, a discourse on miracles, it's a little weird. I mean, he wrote 2 books on very evangelical topics in Christianity. I mean, it seems like that's a lot of cannon fodder to the side. He could have gotten away with a lot less. And secondly, his whole idea of the rights of man. He stands out from other social contract theorists, even though he technically wasn't a social contract theorist, but like Rousseau and Hobbes. Of those 3, he definitely is the more God is relevant camp of those 3. So given those things, I lean very much that he wasn't a deist, but he definitely wasn't, some Dallas or some rural Texas fire and brimstone preacher. That's to be sure. But to a certain extent, so I'm not that either.
No, but one day when Benjamin Franklin was playing chess with David Hume, they were talking about this much as you and I are talking about it now, and so
I want to play chess with you now.
And so Hume asks Benjamin Franklin why Benjamin Franklin seems to be a Bible-carrying, Bible-thumping, church-going, righteous Christian, and you know what Franklin says? He said, because it behooves me to do so. Which is the beginning of American pragmatic theology.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of pragmatic theology, I would love to talk with you a little bit more about different schools of thought on theology and how it's relevant to even people who are secular, let alone people who are religious, and how you should keep in mind on them. But, a topic for another day. But let's not be deistic of that discussion. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe below. Right. Comment below if you guys think, if you think that I'm better than Professor McIntyre. But come on, we already
know. Or if you think that I'm a closet deist or a closet anything.
You're a pantheist, and we all know it, boy. Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, as I said, but also don't forget to contribute monthly, and if you can only do it once, we'd very much appreciate that. Anyway, God bless you all.
I'll see you in Acapulco. I'll see you in Acapulco with God. All right, bye.